Welcome to the Zandberben Report, where wealth strategies and pop culture collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandberben.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Letitia Burbaum, co-host of the Zandberben Report. I'm so excited to be on the show today, and we have an amazing guest, Miss Kristen McAlister.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Paul, thank you so much for teeing us up today. I appreciate it.
Happy as always here. We're always looking forward to what you guys are talking about here today. What's the topic today?
Well, exceptional talent for exceptional times. Don't you think it's pretty fitting?
Yeah, this is an exceptional time, that's for sure.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. The positive ones of us say exceptional.
Right.
Right,
Not
exactly.
everyone sees it that way.
It's like when somebody would say something to you, when you were 16 and they say, hey, why don't you set you up with a date? And they say, what's she look like? Well, she's interesting. You're like, well, I don't know.
That's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really excited today. Our show, we're digging in a little bit deeper, and we're looking at a different perspective. And so, a lot of our clients come to us and look for big picture, and it could potentially be. This is a great show to find resources if you're a business owner, if you're an executive. And so today, I'm really excited and honored to have Kristen on our show, and she is a co-owner of a company. She's also had written several books about her company and little tips and tips that we can take away from it. And I really wanted to just give you an introduction, and maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your company, and then we can talk a little bit briefly about your book.
Thank you so much, Letitia. And I love about your show is it's not resources, it's being able to listen to it and listen to the information you provide and think, okay, I'm not the only one. And I'm in this with other people. And thank you very much for sharing the tips and information. So hopefully we can help executives and anyone in the job market or owning a business or managing a business today. So the fun part of what we do is at Serious Executives is we help business owners date their leadership teams.
I love that. It's so great. Tell us a little bit what that means, though.
Absolutely. They don't necessarily need to go hire someone all the time. If you need a CFO, you're $250,000+ to hire a CFO.
Right.
Sometimes you just need it a couple days a week, or you need it for a short period of time. And it's more, you're just dating them. You're not bringing them on full-time, longer term. So what we do is we help companies figure out what they need, and we match them with the right interim and part-time executives. It's that simple.
It is perfect. To be honest, right now, a lot of companies are looking at their balance sheet saying, okay, well, we still have a lot of growth, and we still have potential, but we're not certain of what the future looks like. So you might be a fantastic resource, because maybe that's something that they want temporarily, or to help them kind of move along their business. So I love what you guys do. It's super fun.
Absolutely. If you look at same as your clientele, they're coming to you to help predict the future and help figure out which way should I go and how do I mitigate risk. We do the exact same thing. We just help everyone mitigate their risk in making longer term decisions, and sometimes looking in the shorter term as well.
Yeah, that's so important, especially when everyone's looking at, the bottom line and what that looks like for them in the long term. So I love that. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your books. I'd love to I know that that's not the focus of the show today, but I just thought might as well. They sound really interesting. I haven't read them myself yet, but I definitely put it on my list for Amazon.
Thank you. Well, we wrote them because interim leadership is not that well known in the U.S. There wasn't a lot of resources out there. So we decided to take what we do as a business and put it into a how-to book. And how I fired my boss and made more money. So executives who maybe sold their company, or they don't want to go into another full-time career, they want flexibility. How do you be an interim executive and build that business?
And we have so many clients that ask us that question all the time. They may have sold their business and now they're like, now what? So I love that. So keep keep sharing. What are some of the tips, maybe the big picture they can get from this book?
From this book, really, it is about knowing what you're best at. So we come out of owning businesses, or we come out of our executive corporate careers, and we're kind of good at a lot of things, and we forget to look at what are we the experts on? What do we really have to offer, and how did we have such a successful career? And that's then how you would best serve others and serve other business owners and other companies, is what you're the expert in, versus trying to be a generalist for everything.
Yeah, you're honing into those skills, and then those skills are adaptable to other things going forward, and you're helping them along the way. I love that.
Yep. I would say, you look at what you do as a tax advisor or financial wealth provider. You have initials after your name saying, I'm certified expert in this. And I always ask executives, if you were to go get a certification and put initials after your name, what would that be in?
Oh, that's so great. That's a great statement, because it has them think about what they think that how they represent and the value that they bring. So that's awesome. I love that. Okay, so let's chat a little bit, if we can change gears just a little bit, about trending today. So we're in the middle of COVID, and I know that it's just uncertain times, but your expertise, I'd love to lean in and ask, what are some of the trends that you see right now?
We've been seeing a lot of, the word of the year right now is pivots. Yeah. Whether it's a business owner looking to pivot, and we've seen it. We've seen pop-up kitchens, we've seen restaurants move outdoors and serve from the outside. Right. A lot of businesses are doing the same thing. I had a client who was making colon cancer test kits, and in a matter of months, they're now serving COVID home test kits to their client base.
Wow.
Companies that used to do promotional marketing materials are now doing PPE distribution of PPE products. There's a lot of pivot. Same thing. So you're talking to a lot of your executive clients saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to pivot my career. I want to pivot to something else. How much do I need to make, Letitia, in order to go do what I love doing?
And I have to tell you, literally, my calendar is full of all of the clients that are asking that same question. They're saying, okay, now what? Things are different, but now how do I lean into the things that I love doing? And then how can I do more of that? And that could be even changing careers, or they're saying, how can I improve that? And like you said, we'll stress test their portfolio and say, okay, go for it. It looks like you'll be fine. And I love that. We can do things for them. So that's great.
Yep. So we're seeing a lot of companies and owners and businesses kind of do the same thing, or CEOs who have owned their business for a couple of decades say, I don't necessarily want to run the day-to-day anymore. Let me bring in an interim president, or let me take off my CFO hat and just bring in someone part-time. We're all really getting to, what do we love to do?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we are seeing that every day. So I love that you're saying that, because we are also seeing that as well. So again, I second that. So what are some of the things, some other trends that I see, people moving, and they're asking, hey, what if I relocate, because now I don't have to have my office in a certain area, or maybe they do. What are you seeing there?
We are seeing our client base and the executives a lot more open to the virtual and working from anywhere. And last year, our client base, 90% of it was they have to work in this geography. Now we're well over 50%, probably closer to 75, saying they can work anywhere. We're virtual for the unforeseen future. Even once there's vaccine, we're going to make them virtual. And that has opened up the possibility for some incredible talent they didn't otherwise have access to. And for executives looking to work, they can go live where they want to live, in their vacation home, their second home, or near their kids and their grandkids, rather than having to fly.
Right.
So it's really bringing them back to what they want to do and making things possible.
Yeah. And I like it's so interesting what Paul said in the very beginning. I think because maybe we're looking at it as a positive spin. I think, change is hard for a lot of people, but some of the tips that you're suggesting of saying, hey, have more of an open mind, or adapt, or, pivot, right? Those things actually, if you embrace them, can create more freedom and flexibility and potential happiness in your life to be able to spend time with your family and do the things you want to do. Or like you said, maybe it's not, they can flirt with the idea of passing the baton on and hire someone, like you said, temporarily, and just see how it works and see if they like it and see if they're comfortable with it. And it's not something that it's so permanent and absolute. So I love that.
And I don't have to say a single thing. I'm just going to let you do my next commercial. It's because we're both seeing a lot of the same things. If you look at your executive client base, being able to take their talents and abilities and make them available for rent to businesses that need them. And even if you're someone who resists change, you've had a very tough time with this, you can bring someone in to be the change maker, to be the change agent. You don't have to be it.
Yeah. And which is great, because it's not permanent. Like, that's the thing. Is and so many people, I feel like, are so afraid of commitment because they just don't understand. And this gives them that flexibility. So I think that's so great. Okay, so let's talk, like, is there any other maybe tips that we can go into? And let's say I want to wear the hat if I am an executive and I have maybe hit the plateau of my firm, and I want to know maybe what that looks like to go in a different direction. What tips would you give me?
First thing is market test it.
Okay.
While you're still in that role, in fact, financial advisors really give the best advice. I had a financial advisor, an old friend of mine, who had told me, build your net before you need it. So go market test it, go make sure you've got a net built, and talk to people is this of value? Would my expertise be, who do you know who could use my expertise? And just start having breakfast, lunch, and Zoom dinners, cocktail hours, finding out who's in your network and who could possibly use it. And if you're coming up 0,000, someone's going to give you an idea and you can pivot there. And certainly while you're in a role is one of those best times to do it. So you're building that net and you're almost selling the product before the product is available.
Yeah.
And finding out how you should position you as a product to people who would be willing to value it.
Right. I love that. Okay, so now I have another scenario. I don't know if you're okay with me asking these scenarios.
Bring it on.
Okay, great. So what if COVID happened, right? And then unfortunately, say I was, my position was it was going to end. Unfortunately, maybe the company's financials weren't going to be going to continue to support my role, and I'm this executive. What do I do? Where do I look? What do you think? How do I start? It might be the similar question, but I think the time frame might be different and maybe less flexibility.
Yeah, if you have the availability, I always recommend to go get a coach, get a career coach, a transition coach. There are so many of them out there. We've worked with a number of them, and we see a very big difference in how quickly you end up in the next thing that you're meant to do, whether it be another full-time role, maybe go buy it's your time to start a company, or consult and be independent. And more than anything right now, if you find yourself out in the market, we're seeing executives want to test drive. So rather than taking that first role that comes out, they are consulting, they are advising, and they're looking inside the company and figuring, is this the right fit? And the company gets to do the same thing and they work together before they make that longer term commitment. Because with COVID and financials and pivots and not knowing, they could end up something and 3 months later, it's changed again and their job's eliminated, or it's not what they thought it would be and they're miserable. Test drive.
Yeah, I love that. Great tip. So along that same one, I'm going to ask another question because you're just making me curious, right? What you think, and you're so knowledgeable in this. So say I'm wearing the hat of the executive again, one more time, and then I'm going to switch over. But say, okay, I have been test driving. Say I love the idea of consulting or starting your own company. So what does that look like if you wanted to start your own company and then you don't want to pay for a bunch of staff right away and you want support. Can you tell me how that transition might look?
There, with everything virtual and all the automation, you'd be surprised at how much of a shoestring you can, maybe either start your own consulting business and your independent practice, or start a whole new business altogether, whether it's manufacturing, technology. There's incubators out there, there's free resources out there. You actually have to pay for very little, get advice. And we work with a lot of startups and funded startups, and $1 can go a long ways nowadays. Conserve cash.
What kind of, okay, so now I'm going to switch over and put I love this. I do this all the time. So I just put a new
I was going to say, you've got multiple personalities I didn't know about, Letitia. This is great. I'm meeting all sides of them.
I know. Well, when I'm talking numbers, I'm very serious. And then when I'm like, although I get to be very animated as well, and I love what I do, so it's fun. It comes out, you can tell. So as far as I'm putting it on, as far as the owner now goes, I'm an owner of a company, and I'm looking for, during these times, what are things that I should look for when I'm looking on bringing on new talent?
My favorite thing is look for, especially if you haven't worked with someone anymore, look at 30, 60, 90 days. If you're looking at 6-month contracts or 1 year, be cautious of that. If you're looking at bringing someone on full time, that's a whole different story. We are seeing timelines on decision making and building that trust in the interview process for full time, long-term roles. Those are almost doubled of what they used to be, because no one wants to make a mistake. We don't have time right now to make mistakes. Right. Bring someone on and have them be the wrong person a year from now. So if you have the opportunity to bring them on a project basis first before deciding to get married, one of the top things that we recommend for companies is you can test drive as well. Or if you just need help on a project basis, we've heard individuals saying, I need to sign a 6-month contract, 30-day contract, 60-day contract, 30 days, let's test it, let's have them do these things. If they're great at it, great, then let's plan out the next 30 days. Be cautious to not look too far ahead, because things are still changing quite a bit, and you've got to retain that flexibility in your business.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And especially now, I don't think, because of COVID, we're all forced to think, I think, with a long-term horizon, but short-term, planning in mind, right? So like you said, I keep on going back to that, the pivot, I think that's important to not get too stuck as you're moving forward and being able to adapt to the changes that we're experiencing.
Yeah, we've been talking to businesses and clients, and where right now we used to have, depending on your business, but it used to be, we've got our 2021 strategy all set, we're getting ready to go, we've got Q1 figured out. Yeah, it's no longer looking at a calendar, it's looking at a watch. That time horizon has definitely shrunk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And like what I do, I pivot back to planning. I'm always telling people, hey, let's see, can you afford it long term? Okay, great. Let's do some what if scenarios, and then let's go. Let's give it a try. So I love that you're saying, test drive, because we do the same thing. We're definitely in line that way.
That's and that is great advice for, as we're talking about in career, whether you have that executive hat or the owner hat, is those what if scenarios. What if I invest $50,000 here or $50,000 there? Well, what if I just invest $10,000 here? Or what if I just talk to 5 people, see if they need a project? You've got all those what ifs. Question your way of thinking, because how many different scenarios are there out there? Yeah. You do that for a living. It's common sense to you. Yeah. We definitely get stuck in our ways and may not think of all the different scenarios.
It's absolutely true. Okay, so I know we're kind of running a little lower on time, but I wanted to make sure that we address some other key tips that maybe you have that I just, or stories that I haven't been able to ask you that you feel like the audience would really get some value from.
Yeah, we talked about, especially since your client base is a lot of executives, they're looking, what else can I do out there? Some of us have not interviewed in maybe a decade or two, and I certainly am one of them. How do I go interview for that next, or I find myself out on the market? How do I go about doing that? And as you're talking to potential clients or potential employers, some of the things that we've seen is, it's kind of like a marriage. Listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. And it is hard. I tell that to every executive going into a discussion, and I ask them to time themselves, and you'd be amazed at how far off it gets. And the other thing, I actually had an executive, they always say research.
Yeah.
And I had an executive last week talked to a board, and they had done their research. The problem is a lot of public information is out there, and it's not accurate.
Oh.
They wanted to show how much he researched and was quoting inaccurate information. Absolute turn off. It went sour and south right then and there. So certainly research people that you're talking to, but you don't necessarily need to show how much you've researched.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, you need to know that they've actually looked at your website and they've done a little bit of research and they understand what the company does, but absolutely giving wrong information is not great at all. That's awful. That's not a first good impression, that's for sure. Last question that I have for you, we ask every person, is what's your ultimate lesson learned? And this could be in business, this can be in life, just wanting to know what you think about that.
That's a tough one, because now you opened it to anywhere in life. Yeah, I would say focus. I see that in my home, and that's tough. I'm a mother of a little Tasmanian devil who's masked as an 8-year-old, trying to get focused, and you're juggling and you're doing all these different things. Same thing in business. Opportunity is the killer of success. Focus where your skill sets are, focus where your biggest opportunity is, and focus on yourself.
I love that.
You gotta put your mask on first and then put the other mask on first. So I continue to tell myself every day, focus. And I know it doesn't look like I can focus. I have to remind myself.
I love it. No, it's great. How can people find you?
Best way would be to go to our website, SiriusExecutives.com, and Sirius is CERIUS executives.com. I always say we're not very serious about people finding us. We chose a very strange way to spell our name. It's SiriusExecutives.com.
Yeah, I love it. That's so great. And so thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to listen and find out more, we're going to put this on, we're going to put it on YouTube, and it will be on Spotify, and you can go to your Google app and download it for a podcast. And if you want to find us on LinkedIn, we're on there as well. And I will show links for everyone so everyone can find each other. And if you have questions for Kristen as well, please ask us in chat, and then we will pass along her information. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandberben Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting podcast.bartzandbergen.com. The Zandberben Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show, or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. The contents of this podcast episode do not constitute an offer of securities or a solicitation of an offer to buy securities, and may not be relied upon in making an investment decision related to any investment offering Access Wealth Management LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Access does not warrant the accuracy or completeness of the information contained herein. Opinions are our current opinions and are subject to change without notice. Prices, quotes, rates are subject to change without notice. Generally, investments are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value. Brokerage services are offered through Tessera Capital, member FINRA.